Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast with Elizabeth Chappell, where every week we dive into how you can turn your craft into a successful career. Get ready to have the career you've always dreamed of.
Hello and welcome to the Craft to Career podcast. I am your host, Elizabeth Chappell, and I'm really excited for our guest today, Jess of the Longarm League. Jess and I met at QuiltCon last year, and we connected right off the bat because we are both entrepreneurs. We both have a membership. We're both very business-minded, and we love just chatting. And I wanted Jess to come on the show to talk a little bit about her journey, her business, how she's finding success. It's really exciting because her husband actually was able to quit his job and just focus 100% on what she's doing. So I'm really excited for you to meet Jess. First, I want to read a review. This review is from a Soul survivor. Soul is S-O-U-L. And it says, genuinely wants to help others. I am just getting started on my very own small business, and this podcast is so helpful. Elizabeth is here to help business owners succeed. There is no competition. There's no comparison. She's genuine and has great tips to help. The best episode for me so far has been the one on social media. As someone who dislikes social media, she's been able to help me break down my own worries and get to a point where I can use social media. Also love the podcast with her therapist. So helpful. Thanks, Elizabeth. Well, thank you, a Soul survivor. I actually really love this review, and I'm so glad that the things that I'm sharing are actually helping people, like are tangible things that you can apply, especially when it comes to things that are tricky and can be really hard on a business owner, like social media. So thank you for that review. If you want me to give you a shout out as well, feel free to leave a review, and you can put your Instagram handle, your name, your business company, and I will share that on the podcast. All right, let's dive in, and I'm excited for you to meet Jess. So Jess, can you tell us what your craft is and when you first started to think, oh, this could be a career?
Ooh, yeah. So I have a similar story. A lot of us were moms first and found ourselves at home with a baby and thinking, okay, now is there something else that I can do during nap times or making items for kids? And that was sort of how I got deep into quilting. So I love how it was such an organic, like I couldn't get enough information about quilting, like from the library, like when blogs were first becoming popular, I guess in 2005, 2006, sometime around there. And I just purely loved it. I tried to take as many in-person quilting classes as I could. And I just got so deep into it, and I loved every part of it. And over time, I did start thinking of like, okay, now how could I think that's everybody wants to turn this something that they're really passionate about into a career. I shouldn't say everybody, but that was a big part of my life, and I was doing it anyway, and I was building my skills. I thought, how could I make money from this? So I started by making, because I loved the whole process of it. I loved picking out fabrics. I loved making my own designs. I loved the process of sewing it together. And I especially loved the quilting part. So in order to utilize all of those interests and skills, I made custom quilts for people. And I don't even remember how long I did that, but it was a step that I had to take. But there's a reason why you don't see so many custom quilters out there. I'm sorry, like making a quilt from start to finish when I say custom made quilts, because it's not very lucrative. And but I loved it so much that I didn't even really care at the beginning. But then we were in such a small starter home, I guess you could say. And so I felt in my bones that Longarm ownership was the next logical step, but there was just no way to make it work with where we were living at the time. So I kind of just held on to that idea and goal. And so when we finally moved into a house that had enough room and enough space, because these machines are 12 feet and you need like a foot on each side. When we moved into a larger house is when I bought my Longarm. And that was probably the most, okay, now this is a business, because before I feel like it was a hobby just because I wasn't making tons of money, but I was learning so much, setting up a website for the first time and all the steps that you go through in your mind to think about how am I going to present my offer? What are the costs going in? What are the time? Like, you have to do all these calculations. So it was definitely priming my brain to think about it as a business, doing the custom made quilts. But when I got my Longarm, that allowed for a little bit more sustainable income. And again, every step of the way is learning and growing and figuring things out. So I would say that was when the business really started, and that was 2012. And yeah, so since then it's just been a process of evolving and checking in with myself to see, like, what do I want to do? What do I want to work on? And so I started hand guiding the quilting for my customers at the time. And the better I got, the more I was asked to do custom quilting. And so my customers were bringing tops to me, but then I was quilting each area differently and spending a lot of time and putting a lot of thought into the overall design of the quilting. I was doing show quilts, like all that kind of stuff. And I got really burnt out doing that. So yeah. Shall I continue? Because that's like, these are the, beginning sort of stages of what my business is today. So I transitioned at that point in time into more, there was also significant mom things going on at the time. And like my kids' needs changed, and I started homeschooling for a couple years. And that was really, my oldest son is on the spectrum and was kind of struggling in school. And so behaviorally in school, I should know, just such a curious learner, and he like the educational part wasn't the struggle, but we decided to pull him out of school, and I homeschooled him for 2 years. So during that 2-year period of time, it felt so good for me to just shut down the custom quilting part. And in the available time I had, I started writing quilt patterns. And so I did that for a few years. And then oh gosh, there are a lot of phases of this business here. But then I decided to get a computerized, like, robotics component for the Longarm that I owned. And that's when I started getting into computerized digital quilting. And that was just another new phase of the business. And then I, after several years, decided to start teaching other people how to be in business for Longarm quilting, because there are, I don't want to say not a lot of resources, but so many times, like, you don't know a whole lot of other people who even have these machines. And so to find people who are also doing it for a business and to share information with each other, that was something that I was really interested and exciting about. And that's the introduction to, like, where my business is now. I started the Longarm League in August of 2019. And it's just been like, I've been obsessed with it ever since. And it's been so much fun. And that's what I'm doing today.
I love it. A couple of things I was thinking about while you were speaking. One, at first, when you said I started this hobby and I loved it. And I thought, well, how can I make money with this? I am so intrigued by that because I feel like there's two pools of people. One who just, even with quilters, they're like, no way, I have no interest in the business side. This is my hobby. And then there's a big pool of us who our minds think that way, like business wise. I don't know if it's like our muscle fibers are just, engineered that way, but I find that interesting. And the different pivots that you've taken with your business. I mean, yeah. Tell me, as you went along the way and you tried quilt pattern designing, and why did you decide that's not for me?
It was probably, I don't want to say I was bad at it.
I doubt that.
No, it was more like, gosh, it was hard to, I don't know if I like gave up on it too early. There was a lot of things there, and I'm trying to like pinpoint. So I was making some sales, but it wasn't substantial enough to think like I had a real future in it. Mm-hmm. And also like kind of going back to, oh my gosh, I'm going to say something so embarrassing, but I'm going to just like plow ahead.
Yes.
And I've said this before and it embarrasses me every time, but I almost felt like, so quilting and doing like the quilting stitches and long arming, I felt like that was my gift. And this is where we get to the embarrassing part. Then I thought like, okay, stopping doing that and writing patterns was like Michael Jordan going to play baseball. Like he wasn't in his.
I love it.
And not like, I'm not the Michael Jordan of anything, like, trust me, but I almost felt like being like I was moving away from my gifts, even though I really liked it. And it was a fun challenge. Number one, like if I was just like so freaking successful that, I think if it really caught on early enough for me and I was making serious money doing it, I would have been like, oh, okay, this is what I do now. But it wasn't like that. It was like, I was having modest sales, but then I really felt like that was my first passion. Like I tried to piece something quickly together just so I could get to the quilting part. Gotcha. And I think like realizing that about myself and knowing that I just love making, the texture of a quilt come to life after it's been pieced, that was like where my true gifts and energy and focus and passion, that's where it was. It wasn't with the pattern design, although I really liked doing that too, but I needed to stay in my lane.
Yeah. And I think it's good for business owners, someone who does have a craft, to realize there are different aspects of a craft and finding what you're really passionate about, what you really love. And it's okay to jump in and give it a try. And if it's not your passion, that's okay to pivot and try something a little different. And then you mentioned your Longarm League and how much you love it. So I met you in person. I think this was the first time we actually met ever, but it was at QuiltCon.
Yep.
I can't remember what year, 2020.
Yes, it was right before the world shut down.
Yeah, it was. I'm glad we got to go. But I met you and you were with your Longarm League friends, and we were like at their little coffee shop there, and you could tell that this group of people, they were super connected to you. Like the bond that you all had, I felt lucky to, I felt true to, like, oh, I get to join, this group of people. I mean, your love and passion for that group is evident, and you could see it there.
Thank you.
So you can tell that is something that you love.
Well, we connect with each other. I mean, there are a lot of us, there are dozens of us. No, but it is something that you're like, oh, you do this too. Like this brings you alive too. It is that connection is really fun. And I am invested in a lot of these people. And I just want to see them succeed. and they are, we just have so many points of connection where it's just easy to be with quilters, and it's easy to be with people who are doing the same thing as you too. So,
well, and one other thing that I've noticed about you and that I find exceptionally rare, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm looking in the wrong places, but you have this mentality. Some people might think, why would you teach someone, they're your competition? But you are very good about headspace, changing your frame of mind, looking at things in abundance. I think I've heard you say abundance so much. And is this innate? Was this a learned thing? Tell me a bit about this thought process of yours.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. I am, it's not natural. it's not my default state. I just had to work through a lot of fear, I guess. And, it's been a conscious choice to learn from other people, in order to have a more abundant mindset and outlook. And so there is a part of me that I think I've always been a natural encourager, and I just want to see people succeed. Like, that part is probably innate, but like getting out of my head and getting out of fear, I've had to, I listen to business podcasts, books, like I love learning about, other people and how they approach the world and what they think. And so a lot of my growth has come from intentionally like seeking out those resources and learning from other people, because I just don't think that I would have had the courage or the confidence, I guess, to strike out and like help other people along if that wasn't a gradual like learning process over time. And so I'm glad, like, that makes me really happy that you say that, because I also want to show other people, like, we can create and serve people in the world unlike anyone else can. So even though, like, with digital quilting, technically, like, we have similar equipment, we can buy these designs that are available to everyone else. So it's like, what is your special sauce? What do you bring to the mix? How can you offer your service in a way that your clients will love? And it's how you're using those tools that are available to everyone. It's how your interactions, how you make that client feel. Like, I just think that there is more than enough to go around, and we're tapping just even a small segment in a small portion of the quilting community that I don't think we need to be afraid of our competition, quote unquote. So yeah, that's a big part of, I try to be upfront about, we value that collaboration over competition. That's one of our huge, I guess, values.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've seen that so much, and I just feel so strongly about that. So, and I've loved that about you, because it's human nature. And I don't know why. It probably comes down to some evolutionary thing of, cavemen or whatever, but where it's this, no, I need to take care of me, and I don't want, but it's so much more beautiful. And I do believe the bigger success comes when you can embrace that. So I've appreciated that with you. I'll come to you and share, these doubts or whatever, and you'll be like, let's change the mind frame. I'm like, oh yeah, let's change the mind frame. So thank you. Now, one thing I'm really intrigued about, and I think our listeners will be too, is, okay, well, first of all, two things, but we'll get to the second one later. You live in Iowa, correct? And yes, there's a big quilting magazine in Iowa.
Yeah.
And you worked with them. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, Meredith is a publisher that does Quilts and More, American Patchwork and Quilting, Quilt Sampler magazines. And so back when I was doing pattern design, it took like so much internal talk and persuasion to even like submit a design to a magazine. Like, I don't know why that was such a big fear of mine, but I did. And it's like, they're friendly. You're giving them content. Like, I understand from a business perspective now that it's really not that big of a deal. Like,
Right.
but it was to me at the time. So I don't want to invalidate those fears, I guess, that other people might have, but it was a hard thing for me to submit that design. And my first design got accepted, and I started working, with the editor or the team there for that quilt. And then they had asked me to do, Scrap Lab, which is something in their Quilts and More magazine where you give a design or 3 designers the same fabrics and see what they all create with the same fabrics. So I did that as a guest, and then they asked me to do to be like a regular contributor to that. And so over time, you just start working with people, and then eventually they asked if I wanted to be a host of a podcast. And this comes in, and I mean, this is an important step, I guess, because at the time I was quilting for other people. And so my wheels started turning, and I thought, like, okay, if I get a bigger audience or if more people hear about me, then what? And really, I was quilting one quilt a day, I can only do one quilt at a time. And so I was thinking, like, all right, if I get, more requests for quilting, I could get a second machine, which has never interested me, or how could I scale what I'm doing in a different way? And that is sort of how my brain started thinking about scaling and teaching multiple people at the same time, rather than just like what I could do one at a time on my machine. So that opportunity was instrumental in helping me, I guess, think about my business in a different way, playing at a bigger scale, or, being, trying to scale. So that, I accepted the opportunity to host the interview portion of their podcast, All People Quilt. And I realized, that I wanted to see what I could do with my own business, teaching other people how to start businesses for themselves and do the long arm quilting for other people. And so I had so much fun, like, doing the interviews with people, but I knew pretty early on that it was going to be like I owed myself the chance to focus more of my energy and time into putting that into the Longarm League, which wasn't really even a thing when I first, accepted that opportunity. And then as it went on, I thought, oh, I could try this. And so it was a 6-month stint, but I loved it. And it's like everything else. The exercise of doing that, and it helped me think through some things, and I learned a ton, and that, I guess, has been, I wanted to circle back kind of to, where the pattern writing wasn't a failure because of all the things that I learned. And so, like, when I was doing the pattern design, like, there's so many skills that I learned then that have helped me today, like, I feel like it all counts. And even if something feels out of alignment, or it starts not being as great as you thought it was going to be, like, the things that you learn, they all transfer. It seems like that's been my experience, is that you just retain those learnings and then apply them in a new way. And then, eventually, if you keep checking in with yourself, and you can really do what you want to do. And that's a really exciting thing.
Yeah, I feel that so strongly. I mean, and again, I feel like that comes to the mind, how you look at things, because you could look at something and say, well, that was a waste of time. That was a failure. But it is what you make of it. If you look and say, wow, I've got so much experience. I learned so much from that. And it's no knowledge or experience is wasted. You can apply that. So I love that.
Yeah.
And then my other area that is intriguing to me. And I think our listeners too are going to be like, what? Tell me more. Your husband was able to quit his job. And now, I mean, how did that come about? Tell us more about and why he did that. They're probably like, well, great. He quit his job. Why? I mean, so let's dive into this.
Okay. Well, going back to passions, like, I think he was always jealous of me having a passion and him just like, we got married fairly young. We started a family fairly young. And so when he was still finishing up college when we were expecting our first child. And so when this job opportunity came about, he started working at a car dealership as a service advisor. So like when your, car needs some work, you bring it in, and he was like the point person to talk to the technicians and, schedule work being done. Well, that was because we had a baby on the way, and, it was a great opportunity. We were so thankful for that job, but it wasn't like he's never been a car guy,
Mm-hmm.
And so there were things that he just, it wasn't exciting. It wasn't a passionate thing for him, but over the years, like he had been there, he ended up being a manager and overseeing maybe like 80 some people at a time. And that was a very stressful thing. And here I have this passion and I'm growing the business, something that I just loved and I could have used more help doing, but it wasn't there yet. It wasn't making enough money to sustain our whole family. But then coronavirus happened last year in the pandemic. And so when the economy, all over the place kind of shut down, that was a very interesting time for so many people. But the benefit that came out of it, we were scared obviously about like nobody was coming into the dealership and there was like this 2-week shutdown type of period. And so we weren't really sure what that was going to mean for him at his job. And also he would always work these long hours, but because things had slowed down so much, he was able to basically cut back. I don't want to say part-time, but it was probably 30 hours a week. And so during that time, we like to walk together a lot, and we would just walk and talk and like think about the future. And that is when we started thinking like, what if you quit your job and just like helped me build Longarm League? And that became more of a theme. And also like just having so much more time at home, I just felt like so much more at peace, and like his body felt better not being under stress, and having the time to exercise and having like taking a slower pace, like that just felt so good to both of us that when he had to go back full time, I legitimately missed him. Like I'm like, I don't want you to work full time. So that is when we really started thinking like, could we do this? Could we make it work? And that we just stopped spending money. We started saving as much as we could and set a goal of at the end of the year. And this was probably like May, I want to say, or even earlier that we started talking about it. So we just tried to save as much money as we could. And then he gave his notice at the beginning of December for the end of the year. And he quit. And at the time, like we have had about 6 months of savings that we felt good about, that, we knew that my business wasn't going to just stop entirely, but it was just like still making that leap of faith that it was going to be okay. And that we could ramp up what the business was doing to, eventually cover both of our incomes. And that has been a really interesting and positive experience. And like, we're just so glad that we did it. And he had never had more than like, I don't know, 10 days off of work ever, And so like at the beginning, it was like, okay, does it feel like he's on a long vacation here? Or, is this like how we live our lives now? And so that's been really exciting and really fun. And he has been amazing. Like he knows more about quilting than the average person just by being with me, but he has learned a lot. And by bringing him into like our daily process and like how things work, he's grown so much in his knowledge, and he's eventually, we tried a Facebook ad this week. Like there are things that he's just gonna like take over eventually as he learns more. But I will say too that he has been above and beyond for like the household stuff too, and just being a support where I was having to do like so much of it before with the kids and the cooking and the cleaning and the laundry and all that stuff, that he has just stepped up in countless ways to his goal is like, I just want to make it easier for you so you can do what you're good at. And so that has been really, it's just been beautiful. Like I've loved that part. So we've been doing really well. Like,
awesome.
It's gonna be interesting just to see, because we changed a lot of things with the league. We were only open for like these very short enrollment periods. And then we decided to open it up all the time. And so there are things that like foundationally or structurally that had been in place with the Longarm League that we're trying new things. And so that felt really, scary because I knew it was working in a certain way and I didn't know if it was going to continue to work. So like we had a good January, and then February was like so bad, like not making very much money. And then March has been a lot better. And then, so like, it'll be interesting just over the course of the year as we really find our groove to know, is this going to be like a seasonal business, or is this going to like, just figuring out how it's going to work is, it's just taken a lot of faith and trust. And I'm glad that we made the leap, but then also if it doesn't work out, like he's still totally employable. I'm
totally.
not.
Right.
I won't be finding another job, but like if something goes wrong or we just don't like it anymore, it creates division, like, cause our marriage is like our priority. So I would much rather let something else happen with the business than, to put our marriage in a situation where we're like, oh, get away from me. I don't like to be with you anymore. We would try something different before that happened, but so far so good. And I am just, sometimes I just want to pinch myself. Like, are we really doing it? Are we doing it? Like it's only been 3 months. So I think that's worth it to say, like, this isn't just how it's going to, I hope it's how it's going to be from here on out, but also giving some time to like really settle in. And I had heard people talk about like, don't make any rash decisions until you've been doing it for like a year, And so I don't want to pretend like I know everything that we're going to encounter only being 3 months in, but I am glad that we took this chance and that we're giving it. I think in marriage and in life, we have been able to figure things out together before and do hard things. And so then, it's kind of like a overriding sense of, we can figure this out. Like, let's trust ourselves to be able to figure this out. So that's what we're trying to do.
I love it. Well, two things in there. I mean, and this is a conversation for a whole nother topic, but him as a husband being comfortable with stepping back and taking on that supportive role and doing the house stuff. So that's a beautiful thing. And, and I also, speaking as a business owner to other creative entrepreneurs, I love that what you said about like, January is great, February, not so much, and not freaking out and being like, well, it's all over, and pivoting. Now you're trying the open registration all times. You'll see how it goes. But I feel like it takes that to be successful, try these things, pivot, test it out, see what's working, and just keep, making those changes. So I like that a lot.
It's only a failure at the point where you give up, Like, I think that we can just continue to recalibrate and be dedicated to finding the solution. So yeah, it's not anything that we're going to freak out over right away. But just, I know that there's so much potential and so much opportunity and like exploring things that we've never tried before, like Facebook ads or like, I don't know what else, but just trying new things.
Yeah. Facebook ads. That's a chat for another day. I'm just starting those too. So I know.
Don't know what we're doing at all.
We'll chat about that another time. But, and then I did want to, I know that you took a membership course from Stu McLaren. What's it called?
Yep. It's called Tribe.
So you took that. Are there other classes you've taken? I feel strongly that the more I invest in my business, whether it's classes or whatever, and smart, not just throwing money in the wind, but what things have you invested in that have really paid off for you?
Yeah. Okay. I wish I could name a bunch of other things. Tribe was really the first and only thing that I plopped down a bunch of money for, and I had never done it before, and I seriously freaked out. I just don't like to spend, and that's like to my downfall almost. But I think it's different when I reframe it and think about it as an investment. So I was able to pay back, I was able to make that money back that I spent on Tribe very soon after. And that I think has helped me. Oh yeah, I do have something else that I guess in a course type thing, there hasn't been anything other than that Tribe thing, but I joined Rachel Rogers' membership, and it's called We Should All Be Millionaires. And that is something that it's an ongoing type membership where you get access to coaching calls, and within her membership, there are courses within that. So you pay, and then you have access to the courses that she has created. And so that has definitely been, that was an investment too, or it's an ongoing investment that I would have never, ever, like, that's something that I would never paid for. Like, I prided myself in not ever spending money on anything, and that's not a good way to live life.
But you feel like it's beneficial. It's helping you with your business.
Yeah, I love being able to, and this is, I don't know, this is maybe a topic for another time too, but I'm just going to throw it out here that I wondered if being around other business owners that weren't craft focused would also be, help us to see and value our work and our time a little bit differently, because I think there can be some negative mindset things with pricing, with like offers, with comparing ourselves to what other people are doing. And I didn't want to get stuck in the trap of or only seeing possibilities within the quilting world or within the craft world, because I think there are ways that we can look to see what women, and this group is not only, I mean, it's geared toward female presenting or entrepreneurs. It's not all women, but that's the focus. And to see what people in other industries are doing and seeing the possibilities out there. It wasn't exactly, I don't want to say it's an intentional choice, because there's so much to be gained from talking shop with people in the industry too. Like I have done a lot, and I think that's a wonderful thing too, but not to the exclusion of all other industries. I want to see what other people are doing out there to get ideas, and to also just like be able to stand in our value too, with like the time and the expertise that we're giving in our businesses, like to see other people do that and charge X amount for that is validating.
So with that in mind, okay, I'm going to try and explain the Longarm League and then correct any mistakes. This will be fun. So you have created this Longarm League where your target audience is people who own long arm machines, and you're trying to help them grow a successful business where they can get as many customers coming in as possible. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. That's true.
And so,
oh,
no, go ahead.
okay. I will go ahead. So yeah, like that is, when we began, it was more just like, I want to just tell everybody everything I know, as far as like what threads to use and how I choose designs, and like really trying to articulate and hone in on like what I think helped me be a successful quilter, in that like I had as much work as I wanted to have. So that's how we started it. And it is just starting. Like you have to start, and then you refine who you're talking to, what they want. You have to ask, what do you want? What are the things that are helpful? Getting that feedback. So like the biggest thing is starting and learning as you go. But we weren't necessarily talking. I mean, when our group started, we started with about 60 people, and they were mostly people who had already been serving other clients or their clients in business. They were in business to some degree. And so I was just putting week after week, I would just like, okay, let's talk about this and let's talk about this. And then over time, we started getting people who were way new to quilting. Like maybe they just had their long arm delivered and wanted to start in business. And we didn't really have great resources to say like, okay, start here, do this, this, and this, and then this is phase 2 and this is phase 3. So over time, just by serving our members, I noticed that was a lack of clarity, I guess, of what we could provide. So within the last, 4 or 5 months, we had been working on getting a course ready for people just starting in their business. So it's very much the getting started steps and basics of long arm quilting, sharing techniques, working with clients, choosing designs, talking about finances, talking about pricing, like getting your website ready. So it's all of these starting steps that really came because I wanted to be able to say, okay, you're a beginner, start here. And so now the Longarm League offers a course called Rookie Season, and that is for the beginners who are starting. It's very much business focused. Everything that we do has the business owner in mind. And then as kind of like after they graduate, they can join the regular league membership, and that is ongoing. We put content out every Wednesday. And we have a private community that we use Slack. A lot of people use that for, their jobs or whatever. But it is a responsive, like, I'm having this problem, please help me.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with other long arm quilters about the things that are coming up day to day in their business. And so there's the lessons. We do a free design every month, a pantograph design that they can then use for their clients. And we do coaching calls that are recorded, and then we share them with the entire membership. And there's been so many good things that just come out of being in discussion with other people. And even though I've been quilting for a very long time, I am learning new things constantly just by listening to what other people are doing, helping apply some of those ideas to, other people that I talk to. I feel like I'm a collector of information and a disseminator of information, because it seems like there's so many things that we can all benefit from. So the league membership is a bit different than the Rookie Season course. Is a very it's a 7-week get it started, and then once you've graduated, you can join the league, and that goes on for always, perpetually. Every Wednesday we put out new content, and then people can join the league at any time. But we do ask that they have started their businesses already. And if not, then they are welcome to join us with Rookie Season. And then if they want the ongoing support, they don't have to opt, it's not a year-long commitment. If they want to just take the Rookie Season course and graduate and start, then that is totally fine too. separate offerings.
And I think that's smart. As you've gone throughout your business, you've seen, I think it adds a better value to the people in the membership where you're not having to dilute it with the beginner questions.
Right.
And then the beginners aren't feeling frustrated with, well, that's not even applicable to me because I'm at the beginning. So it just adds a better value. And I know, because I've used some of your Longarm quilters, that you are producing some great quilters. So shout out to the Longarm League.
Yay. Yay. I'm so glad to hear that. What I've noticed is that they care so much. Like, you would not even believe how much they care about giving fantastic results. And they are very invested. Like, they've invested in all sorts of ways. That if you've shopped for a Longarm quilting machine, you can drop 40 grand easy on your equipment. So these are people that are very invested in doing a good job for other people, and they care about providing the best service that they can. And I just love seeing how much they care and want to learn. Like that. I love that.
I do too. So Jess, to wrap it up, where can people find you?
Yeah. Okay. So longarmleague.com is where we're going to have more information about the course, the membership. We're on Instagram at Longarm League. I am at Threaded Quilting on Instagram too. That's kind of where I started sharing what I was doing back in you could probably scroll back and see the pattern writing day. But then like sharing the quilts that I had quilted for other people, and I still post there occasionally. But those are the best sources for more information. And if there are any Longarm quilters out there who are interested, go to longarmleague.com/from-craft-to-career. And I will have resources there that you can check out. Just kind of a one-stop shop to give you some goodies.
Perfect. I'll put that in the show notes too. So if anyone if they didn't write it down or whatnot, but perfect. Thank you.
Yay.
This was so fun. And I am just really excited about you, your husband, your family, this new adventure that you're on. So thanks for taking time out to come and talk with us.
Oh, I love talking with you all the time, but this was especially fun to be recorded.
Yes. Okay. Thanks. We'll see ya. Bye. I hope you loved meeting Jess as much as I enjoyed chatting with her. She is truly one of the people that I turn to when I'm in a weird headspace. She's been a cheerleader, a supporter. I just am a big fan of Jess. So be sure to check out her website and see all that she has going on. It's really cool. Be sure to join in next week where I will have a business coaching call with a small business owner, and we look at their business and I share tips just specifically for them. But I promise the tips that I share will be applicable to anyone who has a small business. So be sure to check in next week, and I will see you next time on the Craft to Career podcast.